Okay, so for the second video, I'm going to be going over a little bit more about accusative and dative cases. So again, accusative case is when the direct object is being affected, and then the dative case is when the indirect object is being affected. So to start off with the accusative case, so I made a board again, and hold it here. You can pause it, take a picture, do what you want. So the accusative case, you want to ask yourself a couple questions just to be able to, like, if you're looking at a sentence, they're asking you to identify is it accusative or dative. You can ask yourself a couple questions just to try to make it easier. So for accusative, you can ask yourself wen or was. So translation, whom or what. So in my opinion, I think with accusative case, it's a little bit easier to ask what rather than whom, because then when we get to dative case, you kind of use to whom more than you use what. So in this case with accusative, so I wrote a sentence down and it says Das Kind kauft einen Apfel. So this is an accusative sentence, and you can kind of tell because it says einen Apfel. But one way you can kind of tell it's an accusative, if I just take away this einen and leave it ein Apfel, that's an incorrect sentence obviously, but I can kind of say, okay, the kid buys what? So the kid, so you can ask yourself, okay, the kid buys what? And then you see an apple, so you can say, okay, the kid buys what? The kid buys an apple. And then you have to think, okay, so what is apple? So you have to think, is it das? No. Die? No. It's der. So der. So then you have to remember three whales of German. So Nisi would be accusative. So the der changes to den, and so since it's an ein, you just add an en to ein to make it einen. So if apple were feminine, which it's not, but if it was die, then you just keep the e. So in this case, like I said, it's der. It makes it easier to it makes this example easier to follow. So it's einen Apfel. So now we're going to switch over to dative case real quick. So with dative case, you can ask yourself wem or was. So in this case, it's to whom or what. So I think to whom works really well with dative case. So in this case, I wrote Paul gibt einem Mann das Ticket. So the sentence in English would be Paul gives the man a ticket. So we can ask yourself, Paul, or to whom did Paul give the ticket? And Paul gave the ticket to the man. So to whom? The man. So now, if you look, so in the sentence, we've got das Ticket, which would be our direct object. We've got Paul, who's our subject, and we've got einem Mann. So again, I take this out. So you have to ask yourself, okay, Mann is what? Mann is der. So in this case, it will change to einem Mann. Now I could change it and say we could go with Frau. So if I erase and Mann and put Frau, Paul gibt, we can say ein Frau das Ticket. It's not correct, so we have to think, okay, so think back to our whale. So in this case, it's Merman. So now instead of die, it goes der. So Paul gibt einer Frau das Ticket. And so with this, it's a bit easier. So again, Frau would be whom. So it's a bit easier to kind of work with dative case because I could erase this again and say, okay, we could go with Kind. Kind is das. So it would, instead of being ein Kind, it would be einem Kind, which would be the exact same as if it was Mann. So that's kind of the tricky part. You've always got to kind of remember what articles go with what nouns. But for the most part, as long as you can kind of remember these question words of to whom or what for dative and whom or what for accusative, the sentence structure should be a bit easier for you to remember when it comes to constructing your sentences or being able to identify what sentence to use and when. So yeah, good luck.